Today's Saturday, and yesterday I made some trades that reminded me that the mind has a incredible, it's like a 50-50. It's like the yin and the yang. Now, setups are incredibly important. Setups allow me the opportunity to enter a trade and figure out what to do. Because if I know that I should be entering here, then I can enter. And then when I'm at a certain point here, when I see certain behaviors, then I can exit. That's how I make my money. Now that is something that most individuals are searching for, and even professional traders are seeking that information all the time because trading is dynamic. Now, the other part is the mind. I could have all the rules in the world that tells me I need to do this, I need to look for this double bottom, and then wait until I see a clear indication that there is a triple top and then exit. That is a rule. The other part is there are some other interesting things that I need to be aware of, but it is closely related to the mind being prepared in order to perform the right setup. Now, on Friday, I made a series of trades. In bullish markets, it's not a problem at all because I can add, and then later on in the day, I can sell. Okay, that's a bull market. But when the market is going down, then any ads that I do will eventually come to the point where the reality hits, and I have to decide, okay, should I exit now or exit 50% of my account? So I graphically illustrate the things that I've done, and on normal circumstances, these would not be. I would not be doing this type of trading, and I can clearly see it. So I made trades on 3 different securities. So if I go to the first one, which is this guy right there, is Boeing. As you can see, the blue line is the entry for a long position, and the purple line is the exit position. Usually and normally and profitably, when I want to make profit, these candlesticks are supposed to be on the other side of the entry points in order for me to make profits. In this case, this is exactly the opposite of what I should have done. Now, if this is inverted, then I can add, and then wait for this point where I can sell. That is a perfect execution. However, it's not inverted, which means if I look here, we'll go through the first step. And here are, see, I purposely drew up 3 rules. 3 rules which are set up correctly. And the second part is add to winners. Don't add to losers. And then cut my losses fast. So if I look here, there are fundamentally rules that I broke on a Friday because I had to be in it. I had to be in the trade. That's the only reason, the only thing that I can think of. I had to be in the trade. So the first part of it is, granted that I got in here thinking, okay, um, the logical thinking was, okay, the Dow was down 250 points and NASDAQ was down 200 points. And this Boeing is in the NASDAQ, Dow Jones. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll just nibble in here. And Boeing dropped about $2.50 that morning when I entered here at this point. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if there is a recovery, then I should enter at this point and take profit, right? So now I get to the point where it's actually making a topping position, attempting to eclipse the high of the day, which is this red bar and this green bar here. However, the logical thinking was, okay, um, I'm going to assume, my brain is assuming that it already has eclipsed and it's going to go back up. So I entered another trade because one contract was not enough. And I had to add two contracts in order to make a significant gain. That's the thinking that I had. Little did I should have concluded that one contract is sufficient based on the movement that Boeing does, and that I should have been happy with that. And a little bit later on, I make three different trades, two other trades, which essentially equates to being really uh, greedy. So I get to this point, and then all of a sudden, it starts dropping. But I was preoccupied with two other securities not to notice that these were doing this. It was essentially dropping like this. And then I get to the point here, I had this bright idea, okay, I'm going to add because it's gonna come back up. And then I repeat that again, and I add here and it's gonna come back up. I add it here, it's gonna come back up. So essentially I broke the number two, which is only add to winners. And as I looked into the year and what the day was unfolding, essentially I saved and waited until last at the moment when essentially it was the worst point of the lowest point of the day, essentially lowest point of the day. So I made a series of ads here, add here, add here. So this is essentially what's called adding to a loser, and that's what I did. And then the final ad came here, thinking that, okay, look, it's stabilized and it's going to come back up. However, little did I know, this is a Friday. And on this Friday, I have, and then all of a sudden there's some news about China sending troops to Russia to support the Ukraine conflict, Ukraine-Russia conflict. And in most instances, that is negative news. And after that point, it started to drop. And I saw and I realized, okay, so I'm seeing it, but I'm not doing anything. I'm like frozen, unable to do anything about it because I was preoccupied. My mind, by this time, it was Mountain Standard Time, which is 7:49, to here, which is 8:53. That's approximately 1 hour. So this is 9 o'clock, which means essentially an hour and a half has passed since my entries occurred. On a bullish market, on a bullish market, it's perfect. It's a perfect scenario. Add, and then wait, and then add. See that? On a bullish market, inverted, that's a perfect way of making money right there. Then as the day went, it started to drop, and then at this particular juncture, my emotions kicked in, thinking, "Oh my God, what have I done? Okay, what have I done? How did I get into this situation?" Now, my mind is not thinking that way, of course, but subconsciously, something was boiling over. I mean, it's like, okay, so it's going to keep going down. It's not coming back up. Okay, are you going to sell now? I'm thinking to myself, are you going to sell now or are you going to sell it here? Are you going to sell now or are you going to sell here? Sure enough, this purple line indicates the timestamp where I sold my trades. The first trade, first one I sold at approximately about 11:30, 11:29. I sold at 11:39, and then I sold the rest of it at 11:34. And as the day went by, essentially those 2 points were essentially at the lowest point of the day, because right after I sold at the maximum point where everyone is feeling the same way, I think somehow, not sure how. It seems like most people are leveraged up to a point where they're feeling the pain. And at this point, it closed at the point where I sold it. Essentially, that's what I did. It's just immaculate the way that I'm able to find the maximum pain threshold. So I lost a bunch there. The biggest bunch of losses was in this stock. Then I had the idea of entering into the stock. And if I look here, if I look at this, if I look at the charts here, so I went into Disney. It's the same story. It's essentially the same story. So so blue lines are entries and purple line is the exit. So essentially, if I look here, it's essentially the lowest point of the day. Essentially, when I got out, it is essentially the lowest point. Lowest point here, exit, and then it closed here. So it was just so essentially the my mindset was the same as the mass mindset. Essentially, that's what happened. So the mass entered in here and probably bought a lot, bought, kept buying, and then here is sold at the point where it's the maximum amount of my paying. So these three trades that I made didn't lose much because I exited somewhere around here. And so fortunately for me, that is one part of it that was good. But here, I should have never added here. I should have never added here. I should have never added here because here the rule that I broke is don't add to losers. And this is what I did. Went up and then started losing. And I kept adding. That was so essentially it's the same thing. So the blue lines are added, add here, and at a point where the maximum pain was with three different securities doing the same thing, even the most robotic individual will generate emotion. Now, the third trade that I made essentially is a repeat. Now, the method that I used was for a bullish market when things are moving upward. When things are moving down, I need to either flip and use the put or one and exit and done. And this purple line should be closer here. This is another prime example of what I did on. Now, this is a very, very expensive lesson that I've learned. It's a very, very expensive lesson, and I tend to repeat this lesson over and over and over again because the emotions are with me at all times. So if I look here, the critical point here, I need to cover this in order to make myself conscious of what I've done. Whether I look at it or not is another story because it's already running like 14 minutes into this presentation. So the first entry, again, the day started low. Look, I mean, I'm adding to a loser here. I'm adding that, which is essentially the first mistake was this. It went down, it's down. I'm adding to a loser. It's a loser to start with, and I added to it, going long. That is a adding to a loser principle. That's the first mistake. Then this bar this candle is actually higher than this candle, and I added, which means it's a second add. I'm not supposed to add, but I added lower. So that's like it's like it's a broken record. I keep saying this. It's a broken record because there's emotion in me that removes all logic. There's there's no way to describe any other way than to say that all logic is removed. Then I add here and I add here, I add. So that really essentially something was planted in me this morning to keep adding. I'm not sure why. And then I added a final one here, which essentially is just this is essentially still a loser, and I'm adding to it. And then at this point, the maximum pain threshold of here, as you can see at this point of is essentially the low of the day. It's uncanny. It's uncanny how I was able to choose the lowest point of the day. See, I essentially closed a little bit higher. You see that? So the moral of the story is, most likely I'll repeat this over and over again. Why am I repeating this? Even though I know that I'm not supposed to do that? Why? It seems to have something to do, it's definitely something to do with the mind, the brain. So every day my brain resets. When the brain resets, I have to regroup and rethink and repopulate the logical side so that I can control my emotional side. But 4 out of 5 days, I am able to do that. But on this one particular day, on a Friday, when the stars and the moons aligned, the mind was not working properly. And when that happens, these things happen. It's a series of sequential errors that I made. Why did that happen? It's the brain. The brain seems to, it seems like the brain is decaying in an area where this consistency is located. And this consistency is tested, is actually eroded each and every day. That portion of the brain is being eroded every day, where the location of these rules are firmly embedded. So how do I avoid this in the future? I don't know how I can avoid that. Maybe if I see a neurologist, maybe that neurologist will be able to tell me exactly why that's the case and how I can change and my habits and the lifestyle in order to make it more uh, habituated. So for now, as an individual who's struggling through this, I know this one thing, and neurologist does not need to tell me this. Okay, um, nutrition and things like that, and exercise that will definitely help. The way that I'm thinking is this: if I practice and practice and practice and practice each and every moment, and make it as fresh as possible, even if there is a decay in the rules in my mind, I will always be able to make the right trades before the rules and the setups decay from my mind, such that I could keep my emotions at bay. So this is another lesson. I suspect that one of these days I'm going to make another video like this as well, telling myself this is what I did, this is the trade that I made, and I need to avoid this because I make money. And this is the reason why I lose money. This exact reason. This is the only reason that I lose money. This is it. I keep telling myself. I'm looking at it too. I'm looking at it. So if I can make this one change in my trading, this one change. So it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I made money. And then on Friday, I walk in to Office Evolution and I'm sitting here and my mind is just blank. Why? Maybe the dishwashing job that I'm doing is physically demanding and mentally draining, so that So when I have a relaxing Sunday and a Monday, and my shift starts on Tuesday, then I'm consistently able to make the right decisions. And by the time Friday rolls in, I've exhausted myself. Maybe that's the reason why. So what I need to do is keep up the same level of intensity at my day job, because as God knows, I'm extremely thankful for the job that I have, because it affords me the opportunity to live in a shelter practically rent-free. And then the money that I make at the restaurant, that I'm able to make payments on a monthly basis to use a shared office at Office Evolution. So um, I have a win-win situation, and I am, as God as my witness, I am so thankful for working at uh, the restaurant, and I'm essentially extremely thankful that I'm able to sit here. Nobody's here on a Saturday at this huge downtown office. I can use it for myself, and I can study. I could put in all my time. I'm in a perfect situation. I am essentially, I mean, I could literally walk to the shelter and then sleep and then come back here and just do this thing over and over again. So the only thing, and God is okay with me doing this, because essentially when I become extremely good at what I'm doing right now, then I can pay my debt, pay off all my debt, okay? And have a totally different lifestyle. So I don't know, essentially, because I said this before. I made this type of video in the past as well, and I did the same thing over and over again. But I don't know how to fix what is happening to me, even though I've habituated. It's something must it's called a tipping point, I think. It must be a tipping point. It's right around the corner. It's like light bending 90 degrees is right around the corner, not 30 degrees. In a particle mode, it can bend a little bit. Light does bend. Okay, I can see around the corner. That's what light principles are. But light has a very difficult time bending 90 degrees, unless there's a reflection of mirror. So essentially, that's what it is as well, right? The light bending, seeing around the corner is essentially the same thing as. So I'm detracting from the main conversation here. So I made this exact video in the past. And I said to myself, I did this 30 or 40 times already, but I keep doing it. And in order to break this habit, break this, and unfortunately, I know that professional day traders do the same thing over again. And so unless they do this too, they know it. So it's a constant struggle. It's a constant struggle to somehow prepare myself into a situation where I say to myself, okay, enough is enough, and I get out at this point. I say, I'm not adding. This is it. I have a goal that I need to achieve. It's a business. I'm not here to I'm not here to stoke my emotions or greed. That's not my point. So I'm again repeating like a parrot or a broken record, and I made these trades. I should have known on a red day. I'm fearful at this point when the stock goes up on a green day because it could reverse. I've seen that numerous times. This is exactly this is something that's normally, because it's down so much, that it's actually going down even further. So what I need to be aware of, that I need to be fearful of red days as well. In fact, I need to be fearful of all market days, because it could do anything. It just like China sending troops to Russia in order to suppress Ukraine. I mean, that's news that will cause the market to drop and cause this to occur. I was expecting a rebound. That's around that somehow in my brain was embedded into the thought that it's going to rebound. And unfortunately, at this point, the news hit, macro news hit, and then it just started decaying. Use it, decay. Use it, decay. So, and more prominent is something like this guy. This guy's here. Look at that. I mean, it just because Apple has Foxconn, and Foxconn is in China. When these things escalate, it could be, and yeah, yeah. So I don't. Okay, professionals do this too. They make their mistakes, but making mistakes on a basis like this, mistake on a same on. I mean, this is like 20 or 30 mistakes. The mind was like locked in. The only thing that I can say is that the mind was locked in. When you make these trades, where it's not just one. The first one is a one. Okay, I added to a loser because I bought a call instead of buying a put, and then I added again. So this is like this is like uh, this is like sitting on a limb, but not the limb that's attached to the main trunk, but the limb that's on the leaves side. And I'm using a hacksaw to chop away at that limb. And I'm chopping and chopping. The first of all, acquiring a saw, sitting there with the intent of sawing, that's the first mistake, right? First mistake. Second mistake is sawing. And then third is sawing halfway. And then fourth is sawing 3/4 of the way. And then the fifth is keep sawing. And I know what's going on. And yet, actually, if I had a third eye, I could see that what's happening is essentially self-destruction. And then I keep adding again here, which is the final straw where the last portion of the limb is chopped. And then there's free fall. Essentially, that's what it is. And I repeated this on 3 different limbs. So I get back on another limb and I do the same thing after falling down. So essentially something. Now this probably doesn't happen to most people. Unfortunately, I've chosen something that is essentially, it may be my kryptonite. Day trading may be my kryptonite because I have to make decisions, and then I have to make the right decisions at the right time. It's one or the other. It is going to either help me fix what's ailing me in my mind and in my thinking so that I could properly. Something happened. I don't know what happened, but something happened that caused me to make these trades on a Friday. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was good, but on a Friday something happened that caused my brain to something happened that caused me to make these trades. Now today it looks like my brain is in a logical format. Not sure why. Something happened on a Friday that caused this to occur. Now I made this is okay. This is a 20-minute, 28-minute video, and I've elaborated it. I've discussed it until my mouth is dry now, so I need to take some water. Now I'm going to go on a 1 month long, at least 1 month long run, and I pray to God that I don't do this somewhere in between where it erases everything that I've done. Essentially, what this 1 day thing did was erase a whole week's of work.